back to another new edition of Windows on Current Affairs, and today we talk about the presidential initiatives aimed and focusing only on social protection. All the initiatives that are aiming the civilians, that are aiming the citizens, the low-income brackets, the marginalized sector of society, women and children, especially supporting women, single moms, and also people of low-income brackets are social protection initiatives. And we're going to look into more detail about those important initiatives and give a thorough look over the activities that has been taken on that front according to the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and more today. Of course, we're very delighted to be having with us our dear guest, prominent guest, Dr. Motaaz Abu Zeid, a professor of international law. Good evening, Dr. Abu Zeid.
Thank you. Good evening.
First of all, let us give a quick definition of the latest initiatives for social protection.
Yes, of course, as you said, social protection had a new vision starting from the first presidency interval of Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and of course he was totally aware that social justice was one of the demands of people in the Egyptian revolutions starting 2011, 2013, of course insisting of achieving this social justice was a certain and essential demand through these political changes. And of course, according to this awareness, I think the Egyptian country took huge steps and effective steps in this road. Firstly, by renewing the constitution and its principles about social solidarity and social protection. Of course, for all the categories in the society, as you said, people like women, like children, disabled people, old people, and also youth. On the other side, new legislations to be issued by the parliament focusing on these topics like the collective medical insurance law and also the law of social solidarity in 2019. Of course, after that we can notice the application of these texts in the initiatives of the government, as you said, sponsored and overviewed, and even participated by the President, Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, like Haya Karima initiative, like the Kaful and the Karama initiative, like the strategy of human rights, and also to maintain a certain year, the last year, 2022, as the year of civil society here in Egypt. Of course, all these steps and all these directions can be collected together to make a certain vision of or a new vision for the Egyptian country about social protection.
Right. Talking about those initiatives, there are new ones, and there has been others who has been there since, you kindly mentioned, ever since after the revolution.
Yes.
And they were very prosperous. They
Yes.
were help to a great deal before the economic leap that we made and before the economic reform. First of all, it was started off as only ideas, and it continued and spread and escalated until it reached most of the governors of Egypt. It was executed, or the ministry that executed most of these projects, of course with the NGOs and the alliance, the National Alliance, was the Ministry of Solidarity. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have assigned the Ministry of Solidarity to execute specific initiatives that started off like 3 years ago, and 539 billion were allocated for those initiatives to be spread all over on different fronts and for different reasons. Talk to us about those great projects.
Of course, as you said, it began as an ideas, but these ideas was totally backboned by a vision and a plan. And of course, achieving this plan must go parallel with all the other initiatives of the government, like the economic reform, like the rebuilding the international relations outside Egypt, of course, confronting the terrorism, and many activities the Egyptian government made in the same time. And of course, social protection was one of them. It was scheduled and it was planned to put these steps in a certain time, that it must be good introduced to the people, to be aware about these services. These initiatives must be totally discussed for the people who will participate, and the parties will participate in these initiatives. And of course, for the first time, we find a very great participation from the private sector. And of course, this sector was totally abandoned from participation from these initiatives sponsored and made by the government. And of course, we had all a certain idea about the private sector, that they are looking always for their economic and financial interest. But of course, the participation in these projects and initiatives give a new image about this private sector. Of course, the youth participation in these initiatives was scheduled and was planned, and also the role of the governmental sector by organization and by fundraising and by giving all the improvement and support for these initiatives. Of course, this great, we can say, a symphony of cooperation between all these parties, that it was hard to put them in a certain field or in one field. Of course, this can be considered as the very great step and the very great achievement of these initiatives.
Yes. Talk to us about the most important initiatives that started off first. Let's take it from the beginning, from scratch. Of course, there was Takaful Karama ever since the first parliament was issued after June 30th, and it continued, and it gave people a great help. It served the low-income brackets and some families in South Egypt and Upper Egypt, and different sectors in society in Midtown Cairo and all over the governorates. There were many projects that were related to Takaful and Karama, and there were pensions also. Followed Takaful Karama was a sequence of highlights of projects of the same kind that followed the footsteps of Takaful and Karama, but matured in a different way.
Yes.
So if you'd like to elaborate.
We cannot deny that, as we mentioned before, it's all about the new principles believed by the Egyptian society. And of course, it was mentioned in the new constitution issued in 2014, starting from considering the family is the main unit of this society, considering the social solidarity is one of the main activities and main targets of the Egyptian government, considering the participation of all the categories in the society in these initiatives and activities, issuing many articles about rights and freedoms for all categories, starting with children, youth, women, as you said, and also disabled people, old people, dwarfs, of course, many categories that wasn't mentioned before in legal and constitutional texts. On the other side, new ideas appeared in this constitution, like the guarantee of the Egyptian country or the Egyptian government for suitable places for residence, suitable food, suitable clothes, and of course healthy atmosphere and healthy society that we can live in. Of course, the rights of practicing sports, the rights of culture, the rights of work, the rights of education, the rights of medical care. Of course, all these bunch of rights and freedoms must obligate the Egyptian government in its strategies and its decisions and its regulations to put these principles on the way of achievement. This is the first point. The second point, as you said, the new vision of Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to put these principles in a way of achievement and to convert them to be a real image in front of the people. Of course, this encourage many categories and many parties in the society to participate in this. As you said, the first movement, like Takaful and Krama, was issued in the first parliament elected in 2015. And of course, the second version of this parliament, which is the current one elected in 2020, insisted on walking on the same roadmap by giving new initiatives like Haya Karima. And of course, Haya Karima is a very wide and huge and widely spreaded in many activities and in many services can be produced for people, all these categories that was mentioned in the text of the Constitution, but in a new way or in a huge way, as you said. And of course, in parallel, many other programs that can be designed specially for some people, like disabled people, like the women empowerment, like the equality between men and women, like to encourage the role of civil society, as we said. Of course, all these details of the initiatives and the movements of the Egyptian government can give us an image that it's not only principles mentioned in the Constitution, it's not only new steps took by the government, but it will be a new belief and a new way of life for the whole Egyptian society.
First of all, it started off by Ministry of Solidarity and some civil societies, and then it was enlarged, and it was divided into sectors, and lots of participants from different sectors of society and all that. How did it develop to disperse in every Egyptian house who is in need? Explain to us how, and how exactly did it start? How did those people, the volunteers and the civil society, hear about it and reached out to be able to join in and start giving their services and offering their services to the low income brackets and the people, the needy people? Was it according to the Ministry of Solidarity, or in collaboration, or exactly how did that happen?
Of course, the efforts of the Ministry of Social Solidarity cannot be denied, but I think the main reasons for what you mentioned was based upon two bases. The first one is awareness, as we said, and the second one was a new way of thinking according to this awareness. Of course, the awareness of the role of this ministry and the importance of this ministry, and as you said, its connection for any activity and any initiatives that can reach every home here in Egypt, or every house here in Egypt, or even every individual. This is the first point. The second one, the new way of thinking to convert the role of this ministry from all its history in our Egyptian society, that the solidarity, social solidarity ministry is the ministry for poor people, or for helping orphans, or helping old people or disabled people in some charity projects or something like this, to a new vision or a new rule of this ministry, participating in many activities, economic empowerment, social solidarity, even collaboration with other ministry, like Ministry of Development, like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Planning. All activities can be participated and can be encouraged and can be related to the role of the social solidarity ministry. Added to this, the efforts of the minister himself. And of course, Dr. Naveen Al-Kabbag was a very good choice for handling this ministry according to a huge history, according to a new way of thinking, as I said, according to new appearance and new existence in many projects and many initiatives participated by this ministry. And of course, this shows how this new way of thinking can be translated to reach everyone here in Egypt, as you said.
So how exactly is that those initiatives? Let's talk to them about them in detail. There is the most popular, and the one that was received, garnered huge success, was Haya Karima.
Yes.
What were the main factors that formed the success of Haya Karima?
Of course, we
Or
cannot
decent
deny,
life, of
yes,
course.
of course, the sponsorship and of course the participation and the attendance of Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the opening ceremony of this initiative gave a very good push for the beginning of this initiative. The second one, of course, many public figures that people can trust, that people can like to encourage and participate with them, and according to this, to their appearance in this initiative, of course, encourage a lot of people to even hear about this initiative and encourage it. On the other side, as we said, the participation of the private sector with a very good fund for this initiative, of course, give an acceleration for the process of the achievement and the performing of this initiative. And of course, the wide youth participation in this initiative give it a new life, give it a new an energetic image and a very quick progress in achievement of this initiative. All these factors can be considered aside, and of course the awareness of the people to welcome this initiative was very great. To be aware about the parts or the fields of this initiative, like supporting and improvement for the educational establishments, like schools, hospitals, maybe paving roads, some social solidarity establishment like the orphans houses or old people shelters or something like this. Maybe a new establishment can be built like new schools or giving infrastructure service for some places. And of course, this wide or this widely spread services in these places also, as I said, was very welcomed by the people, and this of course encouraged the participators of this initiative to give more and to insist for more success for this initiative.
Right. What was it focusing on? I mean, what were the main focuses of Hayya Karima? Of course, we totally understand that the participants had a special importance.
Yes.
Sectors of the participants, like youth, like civil society, like people, entrepreneurs, and people with experience in that domain, and people who had a passion to be able to volunteer in that. I mean, different reasons and different participants, but also the focus and the target of the initiative was also one of the main factors for its success. The type of services it provided for the citizens. It touched the hearts of so many of those needy people. Yes. It went right to the bone of their needs.
Yes.
That was mainly the reasons for the sustainability of this initiative and also its success. It reached out to the specific places where those people were in dire need. Yes. For help and for services. This might also be considered as the reasons for success. I mean, many other reasons. Was that a survey? Was that a vision by the president? Was that upon the request or of the Ministry of Solidarity, because of the so many cases and so many years of experience by the ministry, so that they could monitor the exact needs and the exact places geographically on the map of Egypt? How exactly did that happen?
No doubt, of course, it was based about a huge number of statistics, so you can count all these needy people, as you said, and of course the geographical spots that you will produce these services. And of course, according to these statistics, we can begin a very successful initiative. But on the other side, we can notice that here in Egypt we had a new strategy for 2030 for the sustainable development of Egypt, and of course the part of human rights with all its categories, civil rights, political rights, economic, social and cultural rights, was based on and was mentioned in this strategy. And of course this strategy of 2030 was performed or was planned to be a certain achievement for the SDGs of the United Nations, which was declared in the first years of this century. And of course, putting this country or putting Egypt on the map of SDG of the United Nations to be performed here in Egypt, of course, this can accelerate and this can improve all your statistics and all your plans and all your initiatives to be performed in a right way. According to this relation between your statistics and the umbrella of the 2030 strategy and of course the sustainable development goals of the United Nations, so you put yourself in a certain mood of work and a certain target to be achieved. According to all these factors, you can begin. But how to continue, as you say, the sustainability of this initiative? Of course, being so attached to the needs of people, to the demands of people, to the main principles of human rights, and of course the social rights which reach every people, every individual here in Egypt, and of course the needs of the people regarding to health, regarding to education, regarding to infrastructure, regarding to upgrading the positions of family and encouraging them to participate and to save these rewards that they gained from these initiatives. Of course, this will be the other side of all the statistics and the plans and the strategies, and of course the goals of the sustainable development. Of course, this can be well performed according to the welcoming of people for all these bases to be rightly performed in reaching all these people.
As we all know that those initiatives were mainly created by the president himself,
Yes.
out of his own ideas and vision for 2030 and 2060 and even until 2063 to be able to fulfill the goals of sustainable development goals.
Yes.
And if we review together those goals, we could see that those initiatives by the president, according to his directives, of course, succeeded to a great deal in fulfilling the dreams, the sustainable development 17 dreams or 17 goals.
Yes.
On top of them was the scarcity of water, the food security,
Yes.
the gender equality,
energy supplies, yes.
and you can say the right to education.
Yes. Environment and climate change.
The climate
Yes.
changes, of course, but talking about, I mean, Haya Karima or
Yes.
those social protection initiatives. The right for a good health.
Yes.
And we could talk about them, but I mean, those were the main goals that were really because people can never live without
Yes.
a good meal. They can never live without fresh water, clean water, never live without the right of education, without the right to a good health,
Yes.
without the right for, I mean, equal rights between
Men and
different
women,
genders, the right of women and children,
Yes.
I mean, so many things, very important and basic rights that seem to be far of reach,
Yes.
but they were reached in a very little time, just like all the projects created by the president. So talk to us about how far did Haya Karima and its sister projects succeeded in fulfilling the 17 goals of sustainable development?
Of course, as you said, with details, as long as you are related to the human rights, you will be succeeded. So, of course, when we care about all these articles or this initiative, this will be the result. No doubt. If I had a good plan, if I have a relation between my plan and my strategy and the international atmosphere or the international goals of sustainable development, if I have an awareness and a new way of thinking, if I have my powers and my arms here, like the social solidarity ministry or the planning ministry or the social development ministry or the youth ministry, all these collaboration between these arms can give a new result. And of course, on the top of all of this, a certain vision and a certain dream, as you said, of our president, Mr. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Starting from his presidential program when elected in 2014, he had many dreams, and he said that I see a new Egypt and I will produce a new Egypt for you. And of course, he was thinking at that time about human rights, about how to give these services, about how to guarantee these services and these initiatives for people. And all over this, the main point that can be touched in these initiatives, the quality of these services that can be produced through these initiatives. It's not a duty, it's not a work, it's not a job, or it's not a function of some people to give some bags or give some boxes of food or of clothes to some people, but it will be a quality. A quality means to give these services and to guarantee this right in a right way and in a sustainable way. No fear to be cut or to be ended or to be cut in some day, or to be ended or terminated by someone. No doubt to be lessened or to be reduced or, in some days. But of course, this sustainable nature and sustainable type of this quality may push and may guarantee a new success for this initiative.
Yes, and by the develop of time and the advent of technology, and the advent also of nature, and you kindly mentioned, talked about the climate changes and the dangers of climate changes and the disturbance of the biological balance that is affected mainly by humans.
Yes.
And in different, maybe continents, not only in Egypt, not in the Middle East or not in Africa, but in other countries also, the economic greed affected in dangers of climate change and disturbing the ecosystem and everything. So this have posed some challenges and some disturbance to this type of success that could be affected by those projects.
Yes.
How? In what way?
Of course, as we say, if you have an initiative or a huge initiative like this, Takaful and Karama, Haya Karima, the year of social, of civil society, or many initiatives that can be done by the Egyptian government, of course it must be related with these changes like climate change, like population, like programs of development in any country here in Egypt or outside. Of course, because we say that these initiatives must be backboned with a certain or a reformed or a very strong economic system. And of course, any disturbance in these parts like climate change, like economic relations, international relations between countries, and of course sources of energy, maybe sources of water, the biodiversity, maybe all these can affect these initiatives, and because it will affect the economic sources and economic backbone for these initiatives. And of course these initiatives can be affected or can be reduced. But the successful way that the Egyptian initiatives faced these problems or faced these challenges, I think it's a pioneer way. As you said, we used the factor of time. We used the factor of people. We used the factor of spreading in many spots or in many geographical places in one time or in the same time, to begin the same beginning in many ways. So many people can be aware by this initiative and can participate even if there is an economic problem. So, but we have a very great youth participation. If you have a delay problem by time, no, but we have some new resources that can be encouraging this, so it can be replaced or it can be balanced. And of course this depends upon a very good plan to manage or to direct these initiatives. And of course it was declared or reflected in the success of these initiatives.
Of course. So what are the main challenges that could threaten such noble initiatives like that? I mean, the intentions are so noble, the will is so strong and precise, and people also, they come with faith, they come with experience, and they would come with all that matters to be able to be pulled together to create something that is massive and sustainable like an initiative like Hakarima has been going on for almost 3 years now, or 4
yes.
or more. It has diverged into so many other small, successful little initiatives.
Yes.
It even has ambassadors. Ambassadors who are not participants,
Yes.
but ambassadors, each in his own field, is a pioneer.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Of course, this is the answer. If we can look for the challenges or the fears of these initiatives, on the other side, we can look about the ambassadors. You can look for the positive points, the successful points, the progress that can be achieved even in a very critical economic position that in Egypt or outside Egypt, even in the special needs of people, as you said, even in a certain time like this, as it's the end of school year, and of course the beginning of holidays and something like this, but it is the same rhyme of working in these initiatives. It will be continued, it will be sustainable, as you said, and of course this depended on the will of the people, and of course the intention of the government, and of course the plan of Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as you said. Of course these factors, all of them, when we can collect them together, of course it cannot be even expected to have fears or even expected to have challenges. If you have a fear about one factor, the other factors can be can help and can improve these or can overcome these challenges or these fears. So as long as you are still on your believing in these principles and the progress and the success of this initiative, I think it will be sustainable and it will be in a good road of achievement, of course.
Right. We talked about the challenges. The challenges are so many, like I earlier said, and also it varies according to the advent of crisis in the world.
Yes.
When there is an economic crisis, definitely there is going to be a food crisis.
Yes.
There is going to be water scarcity. When there is a military confrontation, there is going to be an energy crisis. There is going to be a devaluation of currency. There is going to be some deficiency in some crops. There is going to be some reluctance in the agricultural production, for example, in the export. So many things that could be resulted, and we have no hands in it. It is because of the outer happenings in the surrounding world. When there is a weather crisis, there is a crisis inside Egypt, just like any other country who is sharing the repercussions. So what were the main challenges that met Hayya Karima, for example, or any initiative of that like throughout the 3 years? Of course, we totally understand the economic crisis. There is also the COVID, which costed Egypt quite a lot of effort. However, Egypt was one of the first countries to overcome COVID and became clean of it at a time where China, the biggest economic power in the whole world, is still suffering from
highly affected, yes.
And some places of the very, very powerful countries worldwide in the United States and Europe are still suffering from.
Yes, of course.
New types of pandemics are emerging in very rich countries. These are things that could be counted on Egypt.
Yes.
Mentioning or regarding, I mean, minding that we had the 100 million lives. That had the biggest lion share in giving a push and a support in the health field.
This remembered me by a certain sentences was discussed in the last conference of youth here in Egypt. They said that the initiative of Haya Karima in Egypt is a very pioneer initiative, and it can be repeated in many African or Arabian countries. Of course, this sentence means that the way of application or performance of this initiative in Egypt was really different from any other initiatives. As I said, it's not a dream or a plan can be put to be achieved or to be performed by a certain way in a certain time, and we can declare that we finished this initiative as any project. But the main point, or we can say the economic direction, and of course the social dimensions of this initiative was considered from the beginning. And Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, of course, also repeated and focused about the abilities and opportunities that we have, not depending upon any other sources, not depending upon any other helps from outside Egypt, not depending upon any improvement or support that can reduce our efforts and reduce our abilities. And of course, we can overcome these challenges, as you said, maybe the COVID, maybe the economic crisis, maybe the climate change, by a certain activities that even it cannot support or encourage the initiatives of the social protection, but on the other hand, it can support the economy or the economic reform in Egypt that can be reflected on these initiatives in an indirect way, like giving new agricultural lands, especially in the desert, building new cities, as all the new cities here in Egypt, encouraging certain wings or certain directions of the economic reform, like investments, like the opening of the new capital or the new administrative capital, encouraging new projects here in Egypt, or even open a new way for a new types of investments here in Egypt, like huge projects as to support the rising of the industrial progress here in Egypt. Of course, all these activities, besides the initiatives, even it will not support the initiative in a direct way, but it can serve the economic reform which can be reflected to support or to improve these initiatives.
We only have like less than 2 minutes. Briefly speaking, how do you expect this mega project or initiative to flourish in the near future? I mean, I'm talking in terms of the results on different governorates and different sectors of society, needy society.
Of course, as we say, the success will lead to more success. If we have, as I said, a new way of thinking, quoted by a very good awareness by the results and the importance of these initiatives, which is mainly the new role of the government to make a collaboration between many ministries and collaboration between many sectors to produce these initiatives and to give it in a right way to the people. This success of these initiatives will lead to more success, will lead to more ideas for more initiatives and more successful initiatives. And of course, the success of the Egyptian government in many other projects, this will lead to a new confidence in this government, a new encouraging for this government, a new insisting to improve and to achieve these plans and these dreams. As we said, we are all working in the same field or in the same line. Even you have a success in a certain part, this will be reflected to another one. So of course, according to this new way of thinking and the good relation between the arms and sectors that can participate in these initiatives, of course this will lead for a new success.
Right. Of course, talking about those initiatives will take us more than one episode, because we're just giving a thorough look, a general revealing the most important achievements in those initiatives. But it would take us, like, kindly, if you could honor us by giving us 2 more episodes, extra episodes in the near future, inshallah, we could be able to talk about every single achievement that was taken on those initiatives for almost 4 years now.
Yes.
on a promise from you, inshallah, bi'Iznillah. We'd like to thank you, Dr. Motaaz Abu Zeid. You are a professor of international law. We'd like to thank you coming over to Windows and Current Affairs and giving us some of your time.
Welcome,
And all the
welcome.
best to you. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
It was our
Welcome.
pleasure. And I guess this would bring us to the end of this edition of Windows and Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.